Okay, Scott, this one is your bag because we're speaking about an architect, a very well-known architect called Frank Lloyd Wright, who said, the space within becomes the reality of the building. The space within becomes the reality of the building. What
That's a
does that mean
beautiful
to you?
one to me, in that I think it has two different levels. On a surface level, it's like, yes, the interior design of the architecture is the part that you experience the most. You're in the building and it becomes the reality for you. It's very
Mm-hmm.
important. In fact, in my career, I worked in interior architecture, fully knowing that. But this quote to me has a much deeper and more profound level to it, which is psychological in nature, because the the space within you, your interior, is what constitutes your reality.
Mm,
It's not so
completely.
much like what you look like from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we get into all kinds of troubles when we talk about how people look and what groups that they seem to belong in,
Mm-hmm.
when we really ought to be talking to the subject, not the object
Mm-hmm.
of the body, but who's inhabiting that avatar in this world, that subject.
Yeah.
It's their interior that's significant here. What do you think about that, Geoff?
Yeah, totally. Like, I mean, is correct me now if I'm off track, right? But like, we can all fluctuate between kind of like high vibe states, where we're lifted up, we have moments of illumination, we feel connected to something bigger than ourselves. And like, if we meet someone in that state, our eyes will literally be shining. There'll almost be light in them. Our energy field will be kind of like transmitting like a perfume, this kind of like feel good vibe almost, and, you know, the opposite of that is like if you're on a very low state, a very kind of like, down mooded, dark place, your interior state is going to permeate out beyond you. People can kind of, get a vibe in a room if someone's in that state.
It's
So
just called reading the room. You get
yeah,
this vibe when you're in the room, and there's a
yeah,
lot that's communicated non-verbally.
yeah, exactly.
You know,
And I think I'm no architect now, but I did read a book by Steiner and he was all about buildings. And he had this quote about buildings will speak, and it was the idea that like a building, because of its form, actually has something to say, and we pick up on what that building has to say. And so if you want to just sort of use that as a psychological metaphor, then definitely, like, I mean, I think everybody will agree the state of consciousness you cultivate internally completely colors the reality you experience. That's just a fact, in my opinion. Is that what this quote is about, though? Am I on track with that, do you
well,
think? Or
I'm kind of reading in a subtext here.
gotcha.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I think on the surface level, it's like, yeah, the space within becomes the reality of the building. That's very true. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking a deeper meaning here, which I enjoy contemplating more than just the obvious. Yeah, the interior
Yeah.
of the building's important. It kind of reminds me of Winston Churchill's quote, which is, "We shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us."
I can't believe that's Winston Churchill. Yeah, what a cool quote.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
and that's the whole, like, point of architecture, really, is to be able to shape how people feel in that space. It profoundly affects people's interior.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And that, by the way, that metaphor goes further. Like it's very popular in the tech community now. And it's kind of, I've heard that kind of reiterated as like, we create our tools, like our digital tools. And then we think that they're going to serve us, but actually they in turn create us and we end up serving them. Do you know what I mean? It's this kind of, I've heard that it's quite a common, and it's sort of true in a way. You know what I mean?
It's like, because we transformed our focus from the buildings we inhabit to the architecture of the software that we're using. It becomes
Yeah.
our kind of place that we inhabit these days, more
Yeah. Yeah.
psychologically,
Yeah.
is in the app that you're using, more than the building that you're in. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
I'm kind of getting a bit of a creep out vibe about like, we're all conditioned by the structures that we exist in then in a way. You know what I mean? So I suppose, like, where's liberation in that? Is it, you don't
It's
really want
in
to be,
becoming a creator and
yeah,
shaping those structures, becoming an architect or a software architect, perhaps.
yes, yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. It's a kind of, because ultimately you want like all the boundaries to dissolve at some point. You know what I mean? Whether it's a building, whether it's like an interior state or whatever.
Or maybe
I don't
just
know.
becoming aware of it. And that's enough
Yeah,
to see it and
yeah,
to bring it into a new light of consciousness.
right
So
on.
I'd love to hear what you think about that in the comments.
Please drop us your thoughts in the comments. Absolutely.